I'm about to swear because I thought this was called Big Game Breakdown, and the levels of disrespect that have been just levied against two teams that are playing for their playoff lives and still very much in the thick of the playoff race, and they're both in the top 25, and we don't consider it a big game breakdown, and they're buried.
It's on the rundown.
Whoa. We're talking about Illinois, Minnesota first. Like, what are we doing here?
We got ad breaks to hit, man. Come on, gotta keep people staying after the break.
Hey, listen, man, you gotta give the Ohio State, Penn State some love. We put them in the thumbnail. All right.
Hold on. Podcast. Give the one we did the whole thing on it. We dedicate a whole show to that game.
The ACC gets an auto bid. They didn't last year.
There's a
3, potentially 4 in.
If they're not getting 4 in.
They're not getting 4 in.
They might get 3.
They might get 3.
That's why this game could be pretty big.
Yeah, the winner of this game moves into the 3 hole. Like
the very interesting battle, I think, is going to come back to that September game where BYU beat SMU.
With
you could have 12-1 non-champ BYU against 11-1 non-champ SMU, and then they have the head-to-head.
Yep. But with the old quarterback.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
They're supposed to consider quarterback changes. I don't even want to go there. Don't bring
Hey, listen, I've made a decree. Okay, we're gonna leave the playoff talk for Tuesday nights. Okay. All right. That can keep us from getting too lost in the sauce about the
but we should do a preview show of our preview show.
No. So here's Pitt. Pat Narduzzi said after the game, we thought it was a little bit of dirt in his eye, talking about Eli Holstein. Because remember, he's running the ball. They're up like 38-6, 13-yard quarterback run. He's sort of tackled by the bench, immediately gets up and is taken into the tent. Now all of a sudden, day-to-day, questionable. It's his deal. We'll see. Nard dog, let's go. Then Rhett Lashley is dealing with an injury that I'm a little bit more concerned about because we saw a helmet to the side of Kevin Jennings' leg. He comes back into the game, is able to lead SMU to a win in overtime. But even Rhett Lashley saying this week, man, we got a lot of guys that are banged up and working through it right now as they're out there trying to get through practice. But it is a Mustangs group that has come out of these last couple weeks. They've already lost RJ Maryland, but they've got a lot of bumps and bruises that I think they're playing through, but something that could be very significant going into this game. Danny, which part of this is it? The quarterback uncertainty? Is it Pitt or SMU? The journey they got to get here, the matchup itself. What stands out to you?
All of it. I mean, this might be the best game of the year when you think about the storylines that are coming into this one, and it's buried again on the ACC network at 8:00 instead of on prime time.
You have the honor to get West Durham, all right?
Yes,
that is honor to be called by West Durham.
West is phenomenal. That'll be the best part of the game. They just had him call it on ABC in prime time when they should have. I really do like this game, and I do think it has a lot at stake in it. SMU was handed that game on a platter from Duke. I mean, the block field goal at the end, and then I give credit to Manny Diaz. I thought he made the right decision to go for 2, even though they didn't get it. But you lose the turnover battle by 6, and you still come out with a win. Unbelievable for them to do that. But I do almost give them a little bit of a look-ahead game because it is Duke, and I know SMU is new to the ACC, but I just don't. That's why I like Duke in the play. That's why I like Duke with all the points. They've been a different team with Kevin Jennings. I also look at Pitt, and the thing I like about Pitt is they found different ways to win because early in the season it was all offense. They were top 5 in most offensive categories, and Eli Holstein, it was a great story, bringing in Cade Bell and an offensive staff. But then lately, as the offense has cooled off, we've kind of gotten back to a little bit of Pat Narduzzi ball, where it's a little bit more of a defensive affair. And last week, of course, Kyle McCord helped him with that by giving him 3 first-half pick sixes, where the game was sort of a laugher. But I do think, and you heard on the broadcast, both Dan Mullen and Matt Berry say, man, it almost feels like Pitt knows where the ball's going. That to me is coaching, like putting those players in a position to succeed.
Stallions.
Yes. Where has anybody seen him recently? Outside of Pittsburgh? No, but I think they're a really well-coached team. So I look at the line. I'm not surprised SMU is over a touchdown home favorite, but I'll be curious to see the health of Eli Holstein, which I don't think he'll be too impacted. I think he'll be fine. Does the offense, what version of Pitt do we get? I think they're going to have to score points in this game. As good as defense has been. And SMU without RJ Maryland, they're still adjusting to life without their best offensive threat on the outside.
You know, Narduzzi's been having a lot of fun this year. He did that cardigan video a couple weeks ago. He should have Holstein show up at practice with like a walking cane and sunglasses because he said he got dirt. So Holstein's blind now. So he's questionable for Saturday. He can't see anymore. I look at Pitt and I'm concerned about him in this spot a little bit because Danny, you mentioned it. Their offense has fallen off a cliff like in recent weeks, like it's particularly in conference play. In non-con, they were averaging 3.84 points per drive. They had a 51.6% success rate, 17% explosive, and they were scoring on 64.4% of their drives. In 3 conference games, that's dropped to 2.09 points per drive, a 40.2 success rate. The explosives down to 11.3%, and they've only scored on 38.2%. So I feel like offensively, they were surprising a lot of people early, and now some scouting's been done, and they're kind of figuring out. And I think Eloy Holstein is incredible early in the year. He's looked a lot more ordinary in recent weeks. And another thing that I'm looking at for this game, like it was awesome last week when the defense was getting all those pick sixes and they were forcing all those turnovers and they were getting, scoring. The problem was when you get the pick six, you have to go right back on the field. And if you look at Pitt's defense last week, they played, let me look at this, 93 snaps. And now you're going to be playing an SMU team that might be coming back. Where did Danny go? I was talking to him. Now you're playing an SMU team that might be running a little bit of tempo on you. You played a lot of snaps last week. I just wonder on the road in that situation if we could see like a dam break kind of scenario for the Pitt defense and SMU just kind of steamrolls.
Pretty sure Lashley has only faced Narduzzi twice.
For Miami Pitt?
Yeah. The 1 year was with an injured De'Aaron King. Miami still scored 31. The other year was the year that Pitt was really good, and they went to the Peach Bowl. Do you know their only conference loss that year?
Was it Miami?
It was Miami, and it was in Pittsburgh. And Tyler Van Dyke threw for 425. And now, granted, they only ran for 64 because it's hard to run the ball in Pitt typically. That's a small sample, but so far, that's kind of Lashley 2, Narduzzi 0. I don't know if it's something about the design of the offense that makes it more difficult for Pitt to defend, given how Pitt runs it. Like Pitt's going to do what they do, and if you can beat it, they kind of tip their cap. It's a really good scheme to run against most college offenses. I don't know. I kind of think both quarterbacks are going to play.
Yeah,
but, I mean, I'd be surprised if they don't, but maybe not shocked.
By the way, Pat Narduzzi will be on the college football pregame show on CBS Sports HQ in the I think 9:30, between 9:30 and 10. I don't think we've locked in the time yet. So if you want to see Coach Narduzzi giving a little maybe he'll tell us who's playing quarterback. I doubt it, but my dad did go to Pitt. I'll try to guilt him into it. Did you see his comments? Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, did a really good piece on him about the turnaround and how they changed their philosophy on NIL. Which is fascinating because when you're good, you can play the results and say, see, our way worked. I mean, Florida State's the greatest example of last year, transfer portal worked awesome. This year, it's been a disaster. But I guess they went to the model of tiered system, playing starters a certain amount or upperclassmen a certain amount, not going for the big bucks. He said, quote, money doesn't get you a championship. If it did, all these teams that have spent all this freaking money would be really good. Florida State, Michigan has spent a lot of money. I want hungry players. You talk about how do we go from 3 and 9? That's how.
Do you know who else has spent a lot of money?
Georgia,
Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State,
Oregon. Yeah,
that's why I said there's no definitive proof yet of what works, what doesn't. It does help to have really good players, and it helps. You know what else helps? If you have a tiered system and it's just double of what your tiered system is.
I think there is definitive proof that the Narduzzi way will not win championships. It's sort of a necessary but not sufficient condition to go back to, Dan, I don't know if you're doing the SAT prep with the girls right now, but having it doesn't guarantee anything. Not having it does guarantee something. Not having it means you will not win. It's basically just like recruiting at a certain minimum level, But I think you can win a good number of ball games with great team chemistry, great buy-in, all that kind of stuff. But eventually, talent matters. You know, I'm sure you played some awesome teams in the ACC that had great buy-in, man. Really loved each other, played hard. Everybody's really bought in, and you still smoked them by 40.
You got to have a good balance because you
Yeah.
want that culture and you also want the talent. And when you have
Right.
that mixture of both, that's when you've got a potential Oregon or or whatever team ends up winning it all is going to have a good mix of both. Georgia, I mean, that culture looked pretty sound going to Texas and playing angry. You know,
he did win the ACC championship, and let's see, 21. He had Jordan Addison. He had Kenny Pickett. He had some defensive players that went to go play in the league. But that's
a great example. They would have been better if they could have kept Jordan Addison, but they couldn't afford it. You know, they got outbid.
But I think Pat Narduzzi can look at his ACC championship and be like, yeah, we can win with culture. We can. I mean, now a national championship, maybe a different conversation, but you can win.
And he did, like, he went to the portal. Like, they utilized the portal. They just didn't go out and spend the most on the portal. So I think it was like a good mixture. I think it also feels like it was a direct shot at the kid that left for Colorado and said he wanted to compete for championships. And like, oh yeah, by the way, we are competing for a championship too.
So is Colorado.
Exactly. And maybe everybody wins, you know, and that's the best of both worlds.